We found a farm that no one had lived on for over 20 years. We spent time clearing the land with machetes and chainsaws. We built a road and we cleared roots of trees and prepared pad sites for our drying tunnels. You learn to use what you have, what the land provides. It's interesting how we are so accustomed in the United States to have things like lumber yards or Home Depot. But in the mountains, basically you cut your own trees and mill your own lumber. So we made 4-inch by 4-inch columns and we made 2-inch by 10-inch beams.
Todo bien. Elino, póngalo como yo le dije, a ver.
It's amazing what we end up learning and applying and really going back to basics with minimal resources, with minimal tools. The land has a lot of rocks underneath the soil, so we spent a lot of time breaking up rocks manually. And we dug our posts and erected our columns and eventually our beams and cross braces. Now at the base of the mountain, we built drying tables and then hauled up the frames to the top of the mountain. But after a few days, a storm came and blew everything down. So we learned what didn't work, and we had to start a few things over and build some reinforcements. And we finished. We often don't think what it takes to make the cup of coffee we drink. Coffee is really a cherry, and these cherries bloom once a year.
My hand.
The normal process is to put them in a hut down a chute with a manual depulper. And the depulper removes the coffee cherry from the seed or the coffee bean. That coffee bean is then dried on a concrete pad for 3 days and then sold. Our process is different. We want the red or the mature cherries, and we are going to actually dry those cherries for 30 days in our drying tunnel. After they dry on our tables, we will collect them, bring them off of the mountain, and then we will put them on a concrete slab to dry some more for 4 days. After a month, we would get a mortar and pestle and we would crush the cherry from the bean. This is a very delicate process, and we have to be careful not to crush the actual green coffee bean. We then get a pan and we start to sift through the husk and the hull and separate the dried cherry from the green coffee bean. There's many people with experience in doing this manually and traditionally, so we have retained their services to help us through the process. The separation process is our quality control. We sort the same beans, so we are looking to identify the same shape, the same size, the same color, and we put them in one pile in one location, and we identify which farm they came from. The beans that do not make the cut, they go into a separate pile, a separate location. We often don't think how much work goes into a cup of coffee when we brew it at home. For production, we test roast our coffee every picking cycle to better understand the flavor of each season and modify our roast profile for desired results. We then export green coffee beans and work with local roasters to match our roast profiles that make our coffee unique. The amount of intense labor that goes into it is overwhelming.